to a new meetup for Madrid Jack and the Ruby user group in Madrid. I have a couple of questions for you. First, who is the first time that is coming to Madrid Jack or Madrid Go? That was kind of expected. It won't be the last, right? And there, I also saw a few faces. So let me introduce ourselves very briefly. We are the Java user group in Madrid and also the Groovy user group. We have been doing these meetups together since, I don't know, 2-3 years. And it's been great, but we are always happy to see new people, new faces here because we really love to meet new people. We will have a couple of advices at the end so that everyone feels welcome. But before that, I also have another question. This is important for later. Do you have has anyone any kind of dietary restrictions? Okay. No. That was easy. The next step is we are doing this together. Kind of today's a little bit special because usually we meet at some offices, some companies that usually host us. But today is kind of a different thing because who is hosting us is Sirviendo Código, which is not exactly a company, of course, it's backed by a company, but Sirviendo Código is kind of a community initiative that is trying to act as an umbrella to host any kind of activities from the community. So if you are watching this or if you are attending this session from any of the communities, and if you are looking for a host to have your meetups or to share your knowledge, Sirviendo Código is also a very good initiative that will help connect with more people. They also have a channel. You can look for a channel. They are also sharing all the talks that they are posting there, and they are also sponsoring and supporting some other initiatives, community initiatives, like other meetups or other communities. Not only in Madrid, but I think for the moment in Spain, who knows where they are going to go this year. Okay, we also have another thing, and I also like to reinforce that there are no stupid questions, and when someone is coming to a place like this, in which we are expecting to learn something new, it's because we don't know most of the things that we are going to learn. And that means that don't hesitate to ask your questions. If you have a question, it's not stupid. The only question is the one that you don't ask. But there are many chances, there are many times in which it's difficult to ask a question. So we are trying to make it easier for everyone here. What we are going to use to run the questions both here and also for everyone watching this online is this application, Proxy Hands, that is actually developed by one community member who is here. And he has a very nice story that he promised to share with us. We are still waiting for that talk. He's going to share how he came up with this idea and also some of the challenges that he is doing for implementing this and trying to be to make it easier for everyone to ask questions. So how it works? You need to connect. You need to download the application. You need to introduce that code CP3J, and then you can ask. You can either write the question that you are going to ask, especially if you are watching this online, or if you are here, you can both write the question if you are shy, especially because sometimes if it's going to be in English, you can either write it in English or in Spanish, and we would translate that for you. So also, if you don't mind asking the question directly, you can just push the button to raise your hand, and you will be assigned with a number. That number, like when you are going to the bathroom. So, and then we will ask for who is having the number 7. And then we will handle the bit to you, and you can answer the question. We will remind this later on, that this is enough of me. Today is a very special day because this is one of the chances one of these occasions in which we are lucky because we knew that the whole panel of project managers at the Eclipse organization was going to be here in Madrid. And as soon as we learned that, we of course thought that we had to have them speaking here. So we are going to start with a talk by Ivar Grimstad. Ivar Grimstad is a Java champion, and he's also a developer advocate for Jakarta EE. He was actually proposing a different talk, and we told him, no. We want you to, because we are going to get the chance of having someone from Jakarta EE to actually speak to us about the internals of Jakarta EE. So if you have any question about if they are going to rename another package, that's right now. So because he has the insights of that. So this is a very special occasion because I cannot think in anyone that could be better just to speak about Jakarta. We applause for him, please.
Espera un momento que cambio esto. Sí. Espera, que es que le tenemos que decir a Sara. Ese ya lo podrá subir ella. Se lo puede decir a Sara, que es la chica que está dentro. Es pop-up.
Buenas noches. Gracias por venir a este evento. Okay. Okay, so this is about Jakarta EE11. And my name is Ivar Grimstad. I'm the Jakarta EE developer at this foundation. These are my social media. This is an old slide. I don't use X much anymore. It's a Blue Sky one, so I'll share that one with you.
Nos estaban diciendo por en los comentarios que se tenía un ojito, y yo creo que era esto que no te contabas mucho.
Puede ser. I'm involved in
A él sí, yo creo que es porque tiene mi comentario.
But you can see me on all these.
También ha subido.
We're going to talk about Jakarta EE, and before we do that, I want to do a little timeline. So you probably remember the namespace change we did in 2020, and that was Jakarta EE9, and this was all because of legal reasons that we did this namespace change. And we're not going to do it again. I can promise that. But it's a hurdle, but it kind of cleaned up the community. So all the libraries that weren't maintained any longer, you can see they are still on the Java X namespace. So now you know that it's at least updated in 2020 if it's on the current. So it is actually a kind of a little bit elevation of the quality of E10 is the current release sort of out there. It came in 2022, and the brand new thing there was the Tor profile. We'll get into that. And then it's a lot. And originally this slide had 2024, and it had 2024, all of 2024, up until December. We still hope for it, and we actually released core profile. That's why it's /profile. So we're waiting for black profile and black form to be released, but parts of Jakarta 11 was released in December, but not the entire thing. And I'll go into in this talk about what these question marks are and what 11 is. And to do that, just want to set the stage that when we talk about Jakarta EE, we talk about specifications. And a specification is a textual, human-readable document that describes the technology. It's an API artifact that you can find on Maven Central that we as developers are using. And it's a TCK or test compatibility kit that we use to test and verify that an implementation fulfills all the requirements of the specification.
It does that, it's a compatible implementation. We need at least one compatible implementation per specification to ratify it. That's final. But from there on, it can be as many implementations as possible. 10 is the current release out there. And this is how 10 looks like. So all the blue ones were updated from 9 to 10. Because in 9, we only did the namespace change. And that was a very good decision by us. Because if we had done these changes in 9, as well as the namespace change, then that migration from Spring Boot 2 to Spring Boot 3 that you've been doing would have been so much harder. Because then there would have been API changes as well. Now it was just a namespace change.
And as you see, there were lots of specifications that were updated in 10. If we compare this to 11, you can see it's about the same amount of specifications that are updated. All the blue ones are updated. There's one new one, Jakarta Data, and I'll demo that one later. And the gray ones, they're just because they're not updated doesn't mean they're not important. It's just that they weren't updated for this release. They will be updated for the next release, maybe. Or they are stable as they are. So 11, this is the entire platform. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the Jakarta 11 platform. That's the total set of specification. It has a compatible implementation or many compatible implementations. And each of these specifications also has a compatible implementation. But this is the entire platform, and we're still waiting for that one to be released. And the reason for that is the TCK, you remember, the test compatibility kit for the platform isn't done yet because we're refactoring it. We used the old Java test framework that Sun developed in 1999. So we've updated it to use Archillion and JUnit, so it's a little bit newer technologies. So now it's much easier for other developers to go in and do it. And that work has been a little bit more than anticipated. A subset of the platform is the web profile. That is more the traditional web applications. You have everything from persistence, security, and all the UI stuff. And the web profile is also, that's the next one we're going to release. Because I think it's for failing tests or something, and they're just wrapping up the user guide for the TCK. So the web profile will be released before the platform. So hopefully before the end of this quarter. And then we have the core profile that was introduced in Jakarta EE 10. And this was the first time we introduced a new profile since Java EE 6, when web profile was introduced. And this is a core set of specification targeting microservices or headless services. So this is for creating RESTful endpoints and the specifications you need for that. And one of the key specifications in this one was CDI Lite, which is a subset of CDI, but it removes the dynamic stuff that CDI has, so it can be resolved at compile time. Because somebody wants to compile this with GraalVM, for example, and produce a native image, then you can do it with CDI Lite. With CDI, it's not possible because it resolves everything or many things at runtime. And core profile is released in December. It's available in Maven Central. There are implementations out there, so you can use core profile today. Jakarta 11 is based on Java SE 17. So anybody on older than 17, on 8, for example? No, good. 11, yeah, 17, 21, 142. So anyone on 23 or 24? Soon there. So what we're doing with this one is that we set the API source levels at Java SE 17. So we compile everything with 17. But we make sure it runs on 17 and 21 and above. So if you're on 21, you can use that in your applications. It's just that the APIs doesn't have the latest stuff. there weren't really that much new things that were needed to be exposed through the APIs between 17 and 21 anyway. So we decided to stay on 17 to have as much as the industry with us, because many people are still on 17, but you can use 21. We're also, this is kind of not true any longer, but we're also trying to establish this release cadence. You saw it in 2020, 2022, 2024, 2026, and going on. Every second year, about 9 months after a Java LTS, like 21 was released in September, not last year, the year before. And then we wanted to use release Java Jakarta 11 in June, after 6 to 9 months after the LTS of Java, and that is how we want to continue. So when Java 25 comes out in September, we want to release Jakarta 12 in 2026. But we weren't really able to do this because of the TCK refactoring, but we are working on 12, and we're still sticking on that it should be released in 2026. So this was kind of just a little glitch. There is a milestone of all the APIs out in Maven Central. It was released in May, so we were done with all the specifications and all the work in May. So it has taken from May until February the year after to do the TCK refactoring. So you can understand how massive that job is. And this will be the last time we do that refactoring, because now we're on newer technologies. But you can use the platform web profile and core profile out there as the milestone 4. They haven't changed since that. Yeah, Q3 was the goal. Cross-cutting concerns. What we wanted to do in 11 was to, in addition to update these specifications, we also want to do some things on the platform level. So managed beans were taken away. It's replaced by CDI. We took all the optional features of the specifications. They are not allowed in the platforms any longer. So all the SOAP, XML stuff, gone. That it's only gone from the platform and profile specifications. So if you're still using SOAP, you're safe, you're good, because the implementation are still there. The specification will never die; it will always be there, and as long as you're using it, it will be there. But we won't require an implementation of the platform to have it. The security manager is deprecated for removal in JEP 4.11. It's another JEP later, JEP, I can't remember the number, but it's actually going away. So I think in Java 24, it will be disabled, and you cannot enable it. So it will go away eventually. So we're just making sure that we don't have any references to it. We're embracing Java records throughout the platform as well. So let's go through some of these specifications in a little bit more detail, and then I get to the code. So the security specifications, there are 3 of them. The most important one is Jakarta Security API, or Jakarta Security 4.0. They are introducing that's the API that we as Java developers are using. The authentication and authorization APIs are more for the vendors that implements this stuff. We don't really touch them that much. But they're introducing multiple authentication mechanisms. And the way that works is that you can have an authentication handler, and if it's UI, you can use a form-based one, and if it's a service, you can use a JSON web token, for example. So you can have these multiple authentication mechanisms within your application. I mean, this is easy to do with a proxy in front of something, but you can do it in your Jakarta EE application, actually. We're also creating a bridge specifications to be able to leverage the JSON web tokens properly. So because microprofile has implemented JSON web tokens authentication, Jakarta Security kind of does it, and we need some glue in between, because we don't want those dependencies to go back and forth and create cycles. So that's why we create this common code in a bridge specification in between. We're creating bringing back something that was proposed for Java EE8, an in-memory identity store. So this is good for testing. I wouldn't do this in production, but if you're just testing and you just want to have your identity store defined in your application like this, you can do it. And this is good for your test classes and stuff. But when you go to production, you probably wouldn't maintain it like this way. You can also do the custom policies programmatically. So in this case, you can have these if you're a role of someone who is allowed to go into the office and do stuff, you can actually programmatically say that you can only do that within working hours. So you can do that in your application code if you want to. So as I said, 3 specifications. Security 4.0 is the one we as developers are using. Concurrency is interesting because concurrency 3.0 supports virtual threads, and they also do some other more smaller things. The important thing here is virtual thread support, and virtual threads are new in 21, and in Jakarta EE, we have this kind of love-hate relationships to threads because we tell the developers you're not supposed to mess with threads, because if you do that, the application server may kill it for you. So we have all these managed execution service, managed scheduled execution service, and context services, etc. These managed things to manage threads for you. And with virtual threads, we're kind of thinking, oh, let's do the same thing there. And this is sort of, but wait a minute, we're on 17 here. How can we do this? Because virtual threads were introduced in 21. So what we're doing is we're not exposing anything with virtual threads in the APIs. We don't need to. What we're doing in these managed service definitions, these annotations, is to add a flag that you can say you want a virtual thread, yes or true or false. And then we define what we said, Java SE runtime aware support of virtual threads, which means that if you're in the concurrency API says that virtual equals true, but you're running on 21, then you'll get a virtual thread as expected. But if you're on 17 and still have that flag set to true, you will get a platform thread. So from a developer perspective, you won't really notice it. Whether this makes sense or not, I'm not sure, because virtual threads is a different thing than threads. It's much lighter. You can just spin them up and kill them and do stuff. So whether it makes sense or not, I'm not sure. But at least we can say we support it, and it's up to you to prove whether it was right or wrong to do it this way. CDI supports records and sealed types. So that's kind of the records thing, so you can inject a record. A priority on producers as well, which is useful. We're also moving the integration requirements for CDI into the platform, because CDI spec has a lot of EJB stuff in it, because it integrates very well with EJBs. And we're kind of moving that into the platform to easier be able to remove it later if you want to. So CDI gets more pure CDI. Expression language. So this is also more of a update release. They support Java records, since records is a common theme of this release, and a lot of deprecations here and there. But it's not a very big update. It's basically used by Faces, more or less. And Faces is also doing a lot of maintenance, a lot of clarifications in the specification documents, updates, deprecations here and there. A UID converter. So if you're using Faces, you can use the UID directly and not have to do the create the UID yourself in the code. Servlet, same thing. Lots of updates. Servlet is one of our most used specifications. And anybody Spring developers, Spring Boot. Yeah, so you're using servlets. So because Spring Boot, it's built on servlets. So there are lots of new stuff, but it's fine-grained things. You can control the response codes of redirects and stuff. But that's usually if you're doing the low-level stuff. Persistence are doing a lot of updates. One thing is records as embeddable classes. You can also, you don't have to use the at persistence context annotation any longer. You can use add inject because it's getting more CDI friendly. You can also configure it programmatically. So it's a persistence configuration class. So you don't have if you don't like XML and don't want to write a persistence XML file, you can do it in Java code and pull it in properties from somewhere else if you want. The most important thing is that they are deprecating the calendar, the old calendar, and replacing it with the new Java time API. So if you're using calendar date time, you should replace them with like the local date time and those newer classes, which were introduced in Java 8, wasn't them? So it's not that new, but it's still the new calendar because nobody has deprecated this before. But now we're deprecating it in persistence. So if you're using it in your database code, then sooner or later you have to get rid of it. All right. Sort of records invalidation. So you can validate records properly. You could do it before, but it wasn't really specified how it should work. REST web services are also doing a small update. It's more about mentally preparing to remove their native component model. They have this at resources and these annotations where they inject stuff. So now they want to move over to the CDI and use the same model as everybody else. Otherwise it's more or less a cleanup release. The reason why it's a major update is because they removed a dependency on some XML stuff. Then we have data. And data is a new specification. And data standardizes the repository pattern for data access. And this may sound familiar. Right? So if you're a Spring developer, you probably have seen this code before. But this isn't Spring code. This is Jakarta code. This is Jakarta data. And I'll demo it in a minute. And we're also doing some more that Spring Data doesn't have. We're creating a Jakarta data query language, which is a subset of the Jakarta persistence query language. But it allows you to write queries in the annotations using a query language. So it's a little bit more safer than using the method name, for example. So this one, books by type would be the query, but you can also say the add to the query where title equals like something. And this is the query language in the query annotation. So let's look at some code. All right. So I have here a Jakarta 11 application. I'm using the Milestone 4. And it's on Java 23. And I'm using Open Liberty as the compatible implementation here. I could use a different one, but these have we're one of the first with a Jakarta data implementation. So let's Open Liberty has this cool mode where you can run in dev mode. So it's a little slower to start, but when it started, I can just make changes and it will just update like this. So it has a fairly, and you see 0.091 seconds. It is still pretty fast. The fastest Spring Boot application would be like 3.9 seconds. So and this is in dev mode. In production mode, it would be faster. So and this application, it is a very simple RESTful endpoint. It has a greeting endpoint, and you can send in a name and get a greeting for that name back, and you can get a list of all greetings. So everything here is empty because I haven't implemented it yet. The application configuration of this class is just the application path and extends the Jakarta REST application. So there are no configuration involved. And I have a entity, a database entity that has a ID name and message and getters and setters to this. So if I just want to exercise this one and test it out and see, I'll just see, do I have any greetings? You can see here it's an empty list. There are no greetings here because I haven't implemented any yet. And even if I post to it, you can see it posts in, but it doesn't do anything. So let's implement this one. And the first thing I can do is to create a new interface. I'll call it greeting repository. And I'll give it a @repository annotation. You can see this is the Jakarta data. I will extend the CRUD repository. And let's just remove this one. And it has a on class greeting with the primary key long. So now I've created the repository. I can now start using it in my REST resource. So now, rather than finding one here, I can now call the greeting repository, and here you can see I have all the find all equals find by ID and etc. So all this is generated for me by the Jakarta data specifications. So I just want to say to list, I think. List. I think I have some Git Copilot or something activated because it's just no, wait a second. This is not the find all. I want to do this find all here. There we go. So in this one, I want to do let's see. I'll just do the filter. Find the first one. Find all stream. Why isn't it working? Oh, I'll just do the first. There we go. Oh crap. I'll just this is find by name. Find by name like this. Why not do it more? Harder than that. Yeah. Yeah, because I haven't implemented that method yet. But I didn't think I was doing. Sorry about this. I'll create a method here called the find by name. I'll call it ignore case. I'll actually call it find by name equals ignore case. And then I'll just take this one away. It's just I haven't prepared this good enough. So I deleted the wrong method when I did the preparations for this one. So there you go. So if I wanted to, I should write an optional greeting. Yes, I'm not sure if I have a greeting by name yet. So if I just add a method like this, find by name ignore case, I can now use it in a find by name method. I do call the find by name. I just take the greeting, gets the message, and write only the message. You remember it's an ID and message and a name. So I just use the name to find the greeting. But in order to find this, I also need to put something into the database. So I need a post method as well. Public void great. So I'll just take the greeting in, and I'll use the save method in the greeting repository and save it down. So if I now go and do the list, it's still empty. And if I take and say, hey, let's say hello from Duke here, I should now have the Duke's greeting in the database. If I just say Duke, I should have two of them. So apparently it works. I can also say it to be like gender neutral. I can say hello from Miss Duke as well. So we have all these in the database. And if you remember the find by name method, if I only want the Duke message because there is only one Duke, then I can take this and filter by the Duke and there's hello from Duke. So it's very similar to Spring Boot, or identical to Spring Boot more or less, and very convenient to create nice database access without writing any database queries or anything. And as I said, OpenLiberty is one implementation. We have one implementation with Hibernate. There's an opportunity there because we don't have a implementation at Eclipse Foundation. So helping Eclipse Link, for example, to implement this, or do it as a separate project, or do it at Apache, the OpenJPA, folks would be super happy to have a Jakarta data implementation there. So why not do that? It's a small spec. It's fairly easy if you know persistence. So it's one of the easiest ways to get a hero status in open source. We have some prospective specifications like Jakarta MVC. It's not part of the platform, but it's there. It's version 3, so it's ready. It adds some annotations on top of Jakarta REST, so you can create like Spring MVC. So the add control and view annotations. We also have Jakarta NoSQL. They're in release review very soon now. So Jakarta NoSQL 1.0 will be released maybe in a couple of weeks. So that's absolutely a candidate for next version of Jakarta EE. And a fun fact is that Eclipse JNoSQL, which is the compatible implementation of Jakarta NoSQL, implements Jakarta data as well. And that is the one that will be used as a ratifying implementation for Glassfish for Jakarta EE 11. It won't support JPA, but it will support NoSQL. Jakarta RPC is a project to standardize gRPC within Jakarta EE. It's fairly not very active. And the goal for that project is not to replace gRPC in Java in any way, so to just make it easier to use. So if you like gRPC and you want to contribute to something, this project is in desperate need. And this is even easier to be a hero in open source. So just go to that mailing list and look at that. Just because Jakarta 11 isn't released yet, it doesn't mean we're not talking about 12. So we have started talking about 12. And things we talk about for 12 are config. I threw in AI as well. We're not talking about it, but it would be cool. Jakarta MVC is absolutely a candidate. NoSQL is a candidate. We want to replace EJBs at some point. So we're thinking of introducing a service annotation for CDI, like you have at service in Spring. So an at service will do sort of the same things as the stateless EJB does today. HTTP 3 should be supported. I don't know if there actually needs any spec changes or anything, but that will affect mostly servlet to just support HTTP 3 as well. I don't think it's much work for us to do. If you want to check out what we're talking about, we're labeling all the issues that are being discussed or candidates or thrown out for EE12 on our GitHub issue tracker is labeled EE12. And if you want to add an issue, just add an issue and just ping me and ask me to add the label. So then it's up for discussion. So you can filter on this label there. To sum up, Jakarta EE9 did the namespace change that we're not going to do again, hopefully. But if we're going to do, we have some pretty cool tooling for it. We created some transformer tools. There's the Eclipse transformer that does the transformation of the code for you, the bytecode level. So if you had any third-party libraries that were transitive dependencies in your application, and this worked for Spring as well. So if you had any transitive dependencies that were on the Java X namespace, you can just run them through these transformers, and the bytecode would be on Jakarta. And both of these tools work perfectly fine. The Eclipse transformer is at Eclipse Foundation. Apache Tomcat migration tool is at Apache, and they're open source. They're free to use, and they're easy to use. And just try them out. And they can take any namespace. So if your company is acquired and you have to change the namespace of all your code, you can just run the transformer on them. 10 is out there. 11 is sort of out there. When 9 was the namespace, 10 was the core profile, and 11 is Java 21 records, Jakarta data, CDI centrics, removals and deprecations. So it's a cleanup to increase the performance with the Java 21 and virtual threads, increase the developer productivity with stuff like Jakarta data and records and making CDI the common component model. And the Java levels is on 17, so you have nothing to be afraid of. It will run on 25 as well, and whatever version comes. But we will make sure it runs on 17 and 21. If you want to learn about Jakarta EE, you can go to LinkedIn Learning with this QR code and take the LinkedIn Learning course there. If you don't, this costs money. So if you don't have a LinkedIn subscription for this, you can ask me for a free version of it. And you will get a Jakarta EE10 badge on your LinkedIn profile. The code I showed here, it's the Duke's data. You can look at the Duke's AI as well. I didn't show it because he didn't want any AI presentation here. So you can follow my hashtag Jakarta EE. It's a weekly posts. And of course, you can go to the start jakarta.ee to get started with Jakarta EE. It's a generator to generate a project for you that you can get started with Jakarta EE. So that was what I had. So thank you very much for listening. And before I let Tanya on the stage, I have 3 gifts there. So the 3 first person that asked a question will get one of these. And you can ask it in Spanish. I will any language. In Java.
We have one question online.
Good.
Can I still write native queries with Jakarta persistence? Does it offer any extra stuff than Spring?
You can, with Jakarta persistence, yes, you can still write native queries. Jakarta persistence doesn't give you anything that you wouldn't get in Spring, because in Spring, if you're using Jakarta persistence, you would use Jakarta persistence. Like JPA, that's Jakarta persistence. So if you're using the JPA style in Spring, you would use Jakarta persistence. But yes, you can write native queries. You can write call procedures from Jakarta persistence as well. So.
Any question here? Don't be shy.
Can I have one of these?
We can raffle at the end.
Yeah, we'll raffle it out.
We have a lot of things to raffle
So we'll put this in the raffle pool. So again, thank you for listening, and I'll be around, so don't be shy and ask questions. And
Thank you.
let's have Tanya say something.
So now that Ivar convinced you that Jakarta EE is a must for you to get involved in the open source, I don't actually want to take too much time and go through the presentation, but what I wanted is to make sure that the slides are available to you and you can find out how to contribute to Jakarta EE. I know Ivar was talking, well, this is easy, just go here and do this. But being in this role and working with Ivar, it's really kind of a little bit off-putting when someone tells you, just do this, right? So I want to just make sure that you are aware that there are many, many ways to contribute to Jakarta EE, and there are technical and non-technical ways to be involved. And I do want to encourage you to reach out either to Ivar or me, or actually anyone at Eclipse Foundation, and we'll try to actually learn with you how to even make it easier for people to get involved. I think, of course, I think, as well as I believe Ivar, that contributing to the enterprise Java for Java developers is almost an essential thing to do, at least explore, just because in any business application, whether you're a Spring developer or not, if you're using Java, sooner or later you will hit some Jakarta EE libraries. So knowing that, I really would like to encourage you to understand why you need to contribute as a Java developer, and then how to do it, and just to underline once again that we do need contributions that are non-technical as well. There are many, many opportunities to get involved. So knowing that also this meetup is about a little bit informal conversations and chatting about technologies. I don't want to reveal everything, but I'm more than happy to chat with each and every one of you who is interested to talk a little bit more about Jakarta EE. So I don't know, David, did you want us to continue? Where's Carmen? Oh. She's like, I will lead the panel, but I will leave the room before it's my time. Anyways, Carmen is just on her way. Carmen from the Eclipse Foundation, also part of our Java team, let's put it that way, and our program manager for Adoptium will lead the panel. The idea of this panel is actually to give you a little bit of in the introduction of what Eclipse Foundation is doing. So Eclipse Foundation, as you probably guessed it by now, is not only associated with Eclipse IDE. There are many other projects, one of them being also Jakarta EE. But then we have the opportunity here to talk to various program managers for other working groups. Oh, there is Carmen. Now that I'm in the mood for talking, she's coming up. Okay. So there are many other program managers. So Carmen will lead this discussion, and I will try to introduce to you other working groups and other projects at Eclipse Foundation.
Yes, you can. The ones that will need to talk and stand up and come in the front.
Yeah.
Don't be shy about that. We are a big group.
So I will then, once you give me the name who is to speak first, I will pass the torch.
Because the camera is there. Maybe we need to be closer to the middle. Hi, for the one in the stream, and hi to the room. Thank you. Actually, yes, the point of us wanted to have this panel is because everyone knows Eclipse Foundation because of the IDE, as Tanya say. Every time we go to an event, it's like, yeah, Eclipse IDE. Oh, I used that when I was in college, like 30 years ago. By the way, it's still up, the IDE, don't worry, it's still working, and there is a lot of things here. Actually, Thomas, welcome to the panel. He's in charge of the IDE. I will go first. Because you see, I like to talk. Okay. I'm Adoption Community Manager. You might ask, actually, what is Adoption? I hope no. Is the house of Eclipse Temurin, who is using Temurin on. Oh, I love that. I love to know to meet our users. They moved to Eclipse Foundation in 2021, and actually, Temurin is our biggest project, and we achieved. On October last year, 500 million cumulative downloads, and it's the one we can daily track, which is a lot. We not only have that, we also have the Aquabit is our test suite, and it can be used not only by the ones that are using Temurin, also you have a company that need to run your own runtime. You can use Aquabit because it's an open source. We have a migration toolkit that most of our enterprise users are like, really? You have that? Yes, we also have that project that helps you migrate from Java 8 to 11 and further. You need to go from version to version, but it's very useful. And we also have mission control. And the thing is that behind Adoption, we have a lot of big companies that they're also running their own runtime. So we're getting feedback for what they need. And it's a very open and constructive community. That's from my side.
Try this one.
Yes. And you can, okay. We're part of the Java team, and the Java team includes Ivar, Tanya, myself, and our marketing manager, and we have Adoption, Jakarta EE, microprofiles, and OCI under the Java concept. But we're not only that. We want to talk about other projects, and we have two of our working group managers. We can go first with Frederick, that he's the lead of another project that also have millions or billions of users, right?
Billions.
So yes, you can go.
Yeah. Hola. Soy Frédéric Devien. Estoy un gerente de programas para Embedded IoT en la Eclipse Foundation.
Nice.
Estudio español si no estoy un principiante, lo siento. All right, so switching back to English. I do many things, but yes, I'm the owner in a way of the most popular Eclipse projects of all time, which is deployed in over 12 billion devices. And probably you have some of those deployments in your home right now. I'm talking about Eclipse ThreadX, which is a real-time operating system certified for safety-critical applications, including home appliances. And we have big German appliance makers that I won't name here, but anyway, you can, four-letter word and all, you can guess. And essentially, they've been using ThreadX, which was a commercial product at the time since 1997. And so over time, we have 12 billion devices in the field, but we are brand new as an open source project. So Eclipse ThreadX was formerly known as Azure RTOS, okay? And that was a Microsoft thing. They purchased a company that was creators of ThreadX. And now, after a number of years, Microsoft decided to make that open source, okay? So if you're looking for a very small thing to go on very, very small things, then ThreadX is the way to go. It can be as small as 2 kilobytes if you want to go really hardcore. Another thing that we do, which is connected to that also, is open source hardware at the Eclipse Foundation. And this is brand new. So we have a new working group, which confusingly enough is called the Open Hardware Foundation. Nobody's perfect. But essentially, the story there is that there was this entity, this sister organization to the Eclipse Foundation called Open Hardware Group, and they are working in open source on open source RISC-V based cores, because RISC-V is an instruction set. It was open, okay, and everyone in the industry can pick up RISC-V and make chips with that, but that's just the instruction set, right? You don't have a chip design with that. So what Open Hardware does is one step beyond that. So you have the cores on GitHub in a language called System Verilog. And I'm not a chip designer, don't ask me. But anyway, you've got the literal source code for those chips on GitHub. You can download that, put that on an FPGA, let's say, modify the chip. And when you're happy, you can go to a foundry and get 1 million done if you like. Okay, maybe not. But the thing is, hardware, okay, and custom chips like that, that was the domain of very big corporations in the past. And now with Open Hardware Foundation, you have something that even something like me with a bit of training would be able to do. Okay, so this is a game-changing thing, because essentially those cores are not only open source, they are production quality. You can use them in actual devices, and some of our Open Hardware members, and so some of our Eclipse members are doing just that. Once again, I can't name names, but you can have a look at the membership list. And the great thing about this is that this is really something which is production grade. Once again, you have plenty of academic research RISC-V projects, but this is verified core, so for months, they run the test suites to validate the cores. Step by step, you have a program, you have the chip, and they compare instruction by instruction that this is giving the, so incredible. Anyway, so ThreadX, of course, is on its way to fully support those cores now that Open Hardware is part of the Eclipse family. So now you have this comprehensive ecosystem based on RISC-V, from the chip all the way to the RTOS. And of course, what we have on top, the SDV and IoT building blocks in our ecosystem, and many of them are built in Java. So in my embedded and IoT domain, I have projects like Eclipse Hono, which is a platform for device connectivity, Eclipse Ditto, which is a platform for digital twins, Eclipse Hogbit to push software updates over the air to IP-based devices and things like that. And all of those projects are in Java. So, you know, once you're done playing Hero on Jakarta with Ivar, maybe you can jump on one of those projects and, you know, do have some good-based, good old Java fun over there. So as you can see, embedded and IoT is quite broad, quite wide in scope. And I hope that, well, at least some of you will take a Java pose from time to time and play with it. So that's the story.
Thank you, Fred. As you see, he's very passionate about his IoT and embedded. Any question he knows best? Yes. Toman, I will point to you, but I don't know if you want to go or no.
Yeah,
Because you're
I didn't
representing
prepare-
IDE, you need to
I did not
tell
prepare
them.
anything, but just to say hello. So I am a good old Eclipse IDE guy, but so I know some of you, even our Java champion is using another IDE, so I won't say anything. Yeah, Eclipse IDE, it's an ecosystem. Actually, it's more than an IDE. It's more, even the IDE and the platform which is behind is still used by millions of users, and some company are working on it. So it's also a good opportunity for potential contributors, and so the impact is huge. Actually, it's used by critical industries in the space domain, avionics, and so on. So it's very. You may have a big impact here too, but anyway, I'm not here to sell anything. I'm just so good to know that I am not only the Eclipse ID guy, I'm also now the dev tool guy, and maybe you have heard of some other technology. You have the FID, you have the Eclipse Share, or some other project like that. Still in the scope of the Eclipse Foundation. So just that's all for me, and it's a very different perimeter than my
and that's
colleagues.
a good question, because we're talking about Eclipse and Eclipse Foundation, and we want to know, why do we need an open source foundation? And let's hear from Tanya, like, why it's important for projects in open source to have an open source.
Let me just add one thing. Like, on many conferences, I'm hearing, well, I love Eclipse ID, but it's not working, or this, why didn't you do this? Well, now you know the guy. So, you know, for years, we didn't have the working group that is organized around that project. And in last year or so, we finally have that. So there is a huge push and opportunity to make sure that some of the Java champions that are not using Eclipse IDE, will not name the names, jump into the Eclipse IDE as the tool. Okay, now about the Eclipse Foundation, or actually open source in general. So just from the highest level, and not to go very deep, anyone can start a project in GitHub and have it as an open source. It could be an individual. There is no need for any organization or foundation or anything like that to start an open source. So once you start that open source project, if someone else starts, like if you really develop it and become something that is useful not only to you but to someone else, and becomes popular, maybe you will start scratching your head and saying, well, why is this guy using what I wrote? And who owns this product? Who has the IP? How did I license it? What are the rules of engagement here? And once you get into that type of thing, you really start thinking, what do I need to do to make sure that this code is used fairly and as intended? So everyone can use it, but not necessarily abuse it. And from that perspective, you can say, well, I can start up a company that will employ people and actually further develop this project as an open source project. And one of the great examples for that is, let's say, Red Hat, right? It's a single vendor company that grew crazy, one of the biggest acquisitions in the world in terms of the open source acquisitions. But it's a single vendor company. And decisions are, after all, being made by that single vendor. And then you have the open source foundations that are creating all these rules of engagements, providing various services, making sure that IP is handled correctly, but it's also insisting on the vendor neutrality. Meaning, for example, that at the Jakarta EE as a project, we have 30 members. And who are those members? Like some of them you probably have not heard of, but I bet that for many of them you have heard of. Red Hat is one of the members, IBM the other, Oracle the third one. Then we have Microsoft. So big names. What exactly does that mean to me as a user? It means if let's say, God forbid, Oracle steps out of this membership, there are other 29 members with their employees who are going to continue developing this technology. So once you start from a small project and growing big, there are many other considerations that should be taken care of, should be considered and taken care of. And a lot of those foundations, like Eclipse Foundation, is handling for you. So that is why big companies or small companies or individuals are contributing to open source through foundations. So I hope I answered that question. If there are questions, I'll be happy.
Yes, thank you, Tanya. And I think your topic will lead us to the governance part, because now they have been approved the Cyber Resilient Acts, which not only affect open source projects, it also affect any IT project in general, and also Eclipse Foundation, led by Juan. But we have one here, has an initiative, the Open Regulatory Compliance, or ORC working group. So let us explain about that.
Yeah, basically, the situation now is developing technology is fun. Why not ruin it with regulation? And that's basically the role that this working group is playing. We have the Cyber Resilience Act that basically tries to move software development industry from not regulated business to a regulated business. And actually, the situation is that, yeah, we have good intentions because the intention is good, but no one knows how to do it. Not even the commission, not even the regulatory bodies, no one. So, yeah, they did the smart thing, which is basically gather a lot of people and put us in a table to discuss how to do it. But we have just until November to start drafting the real implementation that will be affecting everyone who is using open source to create products, launching digital products. Indeed, every product with a digital component will be affected by the CRA. So, yeah, it scares, yes, but yeah, probably the situation is not going to be that hard. What we are doing in the Open Regulatory Compliance Working Group is basically, well, cooperate first with all the other open source foundations that we know. Some of them are already members of the working group: Rust, Apache, PHP, Python. Basically, we are now 20 foundations. We have also a cooperation with the Linux Foundation. So basically, we are trying to build good things for the open source community and also support the European Commission and the standardization development organizations like Sensenelec and ISO on defining and on defining what is needed to be taken into consideration to have an implementation of the CRA that makes sense for the business. It's basically to create an advantage rather than building more barriers and make more difficult to be competitive in Europe. Right now, what we are doing is basically a simple but very useful thing, which is building an FAQ. We have the text, which is roughly 200 pages with a lot of terms, references, and a lot of things. Yeah, and what we are doing is collect all the different questions that we have. We have the role of the open source foundations. We have what is the impact for a maintainer, for a developer, what is monetization. There are a lot of terms that are included in the text that are not clear. And it's important to have this working group as a way of first, through consensus in the open source community, get some responses. But if we don't have a good answer, to communicate to the European Commission to get their view on these key topics. So our role is, yeah, focus first on the CRA because it's the first regulation of this kind, but extend all the upcoming regulations that we are having on the digital space and build this kind of community that, yeah, basically empower open source rather than limit the impact that they could have in the real market.
Thank you. One thing, if you want to be aware of any of the initiatives that we have been talking, we have more. All of them have mailing lists that are very inclusive. We're all kind of mail distributor. And we also have, depending on each working group, has either a matrix or a Slack chat. So you can join, even if you're not a working group member, you can join there and check what is happening and also add your input as a user, which is very important for us. And one didn't mention, but you also need private organizations, users and users.
Indeed, we are trying to gather the view of open source community. We have already 20 foundations, I think 20 companies, yeah, big ones, smaller ones. But actually, we want to get the perception of the communities. We want maintainers, we want developers. We have our GitHub space, and that is where everything is happening. Everything is done in the open. And indeed, yeah, participating in working groups and foundations has a cost. In this case, it's almost free for everybody. But basically, because it's a need we have. It's actually a matter of, protect open source ecosystem, empower them to keep developing things, and release all the fears that the text has created, which is also one important aspect that we are doing. Working closely with the regulators, but having as many diverse views of the open source community as we can.
This is the first project. And this is to illustrate the importance of the ORC. It's actually one of the first projects that kind of gathered all of these open source foundations to work on regulations together. which is quite an achievement and illustrates the need for group like this.
Well, absolutely. Actually, as I said before, it is not Eclipse Foundation or Linux Foundation, because maybe we are the two biggest ones. It's actually what the open source community needs. And if we don't have consensus and we don't have cooperation, well, basically we have the risk of killing the success of open source, and that's a reality given the shape of the current text of the CRA. So for me, the biggest learning is that besides our intentions, scopes, objectives, we all are working together to protect open source. And maybe it's also one point that why open source foundations are important is because at the time you need to have someone to speak loudly to regulators, we can play that role. And
It's quite working, no? Hopefully. Yes, but we are not only working on like end production projects. We also have an important pillar that started 10 years ago, which is research at Eclipse. And David, which is live here in Madrid, will explain a bit like what the research team is doing, because you're all like traveling and doing things, meeting around the Europe. So
Buenas tardes. Hola a todos. My name is David. I live in Madrid, and I travel a lot. That's part of our job. So I work in what we call the research team, and it's a bit different from other working groups or entities in the Eclipse Foundation. And I can tell you how we do research, although we are not researchers. So this story started like between 10 and 15 years ago, when some members from the Eclipse Foundation came to us and told us, guys, how do you do to bring the community around your projects? Because we are uploading the code to GitHub 3 months before the project finishes, more or less, and we are not getting anything. So of course, you know this better than me. Uploading the code to GitHub is not a silver bullet. You need to do things. You need to get to know your community, go to events like this. So thank you for letting us be here today and speak to you. So you need to contact and reach and insist with your developers. So that's what we started doing in the research projects. So we were invited to, normally we are working at the moment in the Horizon Europe framework or similar to that, where we help disseminate the open source best practices in the projects. Once we were there doing these projects during the last years, and now at the moment we have more than 15 running projects, we realized that some of the partners and researchers don't know very well what we call the proper open source. So we started helping them to work openly, in the open, as you said, and collaborate and develop all together. They were scared of sharing their code. So that's the first area where we helped. And together with that, we are helping to do exploitation of the code of the project. So we help with that as well. So those are the areas where we work in these research projects, doing the community building, the open source. We work with the IP and help with the intellectual property, the licenses as well, and then the dissemination and exploitation. And along with that, we have another area where we work, is that we go to universities to widespread the open source. So if you are working in a university or a student there, you may be interested, because we go there, there's no charge. So we try to explain the basics of open source, a bit of the story, to make some exercises or questions, or to make it a bit fun. And at the end, if there is the public is like the PhDs or masters, we do some open source business models exercises as well, all that stuff. So in case you may be interested on that, just reach to me afterwards and we can have a chat.
thank you, David. And you were mentioning about community outreach, and we have an important part of community outreach, which is events in general. We have different types of events, and Aurélie can explain and talk about our events at Eclipse Foundation.
Yes, hi everyone. So my name is Aurélie, and I'm leading all the event activities for the Eclipse Foundation. So we have different varieties of activities. whether it's virtual, physical, or even hybrid. And one thing that is very important for us, it's really to empower our community, because we can create so many events, but at the end of the day, for us, our community sometimes want to do some different kind of outreach. And we have two different kinds of events. One that is virtual, so it's the open community webinars and the open community meetups. And so this is something where people from our community can reach out to us and say, I would like to organize a meetup like this one, for example, wherever in the world, and we'll support them with some financial support, but also with some promotion. But they are really in charge of the event, will help with the landing page. And it's really like a collaboration, but the goal here is really to enable the community to bring their own ecosystem together. The same goes for webinars. If there is a specific topic that you want to highlight, we can also support you in setting up a webinar. You can become a speaker, and we'll proudly share that with our community to bring people together. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was our main flagship event, which is called the Open Community Experience. Next year, it's going to take place in Brussels, and we're very proud to bring, all this amazing working group together, all our communities, and it's a 3-day conference where we touch upon a lot of different topics. And for us, it's also an opportunity to bring all our communities together. It's an amazing experience, yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, Java developers, we need you there.
Yes.
Yes, because we have open community for Java, so we need Java developers attendance. Thank you all for listening, all of us, and I hope this wasn't a selling pitch. It was more about to share, as I said at the beginning, we are more than Eclipse IDE. Sorry, Thomas, about that. And I always like to share. Actually, I was impressed about everything we do on our daily basis on Eclipse Foundation. Thank you to the team and to everyone for listening to us. David, we are done. We have questions.
So thank you everybody for coming with us. It was a very interesting meetup. We are closing now. I don't know if we say goodbye to the...
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So we have a few news.
So next we already have the next meetup. It will be in 3 weeks. We are doing, if you are familiar with the group, you know that it's not the first time that we do this. So we have another Iberian Jack tour. So basically, in this case, Horacio is going to talk in, I think it's 4 Java user groups here in Spain: Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, and Malaga. And we have done other tours in the past. So the next one is in 3 weeks. Datadog offices, new venue for us. And we will probably announce the meetup next week. So that's if you want to come, take a look when you receive the meetup notification, and we will be there.
Yes, we have some conferences coming, and we are lucky because we have a code for discount. So for Java 1, which is taking place in March, also 18 since 18 to 20, we can copy this code if you are motivated and you would like to attend. Another one, this time it's a local conference here in Madrid, Commit, where some of us are talking. So just don't lose it because it's coming very soon.
And we also have tickets for raffle at the end, right? So if you don't have tickets yet, you can win a few of them, and we have more for the next meetup.
Yeah. Yeah. Devox UK is not the first time we are partners with the organization of Devox, and we are giving also a discount code. This is this one. We know that that is difficult to get there to London, but don't hesitate. And we have another ticket to raffle, or if nobody wants to participate in the raffle, but there's a person that has a weekend schedule already to London and would like to attend, we can talk about this ticket.
Another conference, Codemotion Madrid. It will be 21st and 22nd of May. We have a 20% discount code for the tickets, and we will also have probably a few tickets to raffle, but it will be in a few meetups. We don't have the tickets yet, but we already had that in the past. So if you come here, remember that if you are watching online and you want to enter the raffles, you need to be here in person. It's always that's a rule. You can watch the meetup online, but if you want to win something, you need to be here in the room. Okay, so if you want an opportunity, come to see us on our next meetup.
Yes, Jane Nation Conference, a conference that is in Portugal, in Coimbra, and we are also partners with the organization, and we don't have ticket. Maybe no. I know that the tickets are cheaper now until I don't know when, but the same. If you are interested, it could be a nice excuse to pass the weekend in Portugal.
And just a final reminder, we have 2 open collectives, one for each group, because the StreamYard account costs money, meetup costs money, cost a lot. So basically, we have some needs, and in the past, we the organizers put money, but we have running these open collectives for 3-4 years now. So if you have some cash to spare, you can join those and give it to us. The nice thing about open collective, if you don't know how it works, is that everything is public, so you can see how much money we spend on the StreamYard account, on Meetup, or the Macs, stickers, whatever. Everything is public, right? And just before closing, we are going to have now something to eat and drink. And remember that we want to continue talking, and now especially today because we have a lot of people from the Eclipse Foundation. So don't be shy, talk to them. A few of them speak Spanish, so and remember this Pac-Man rule, right? If you are in a closed circle, open it a little bit so anyone can join. And now before closing, we have a lot of things to raffle, so I'm going to read them, especially for all of you that are not here, just to be jealous of all the things that you are not going to win today. We have 2 Macs, 2 JetBrains licenses. Sorry, we have but we have unlimited Eclipse licenses, right? So if you don't win JetBrains license, we can give you one for Eclipse. And now one of the meetup organizers, Jero, he's a very Eclipse fan. So you should give him an autograph because he has been using Eclipse forever. And we always try to say him, do you want a license for JetBrains? And he said, no, I always want to use Eclipse, right? What else? We have 2 books. So Juan Antonio, where are you? So he wrote some books. They are not technical. They are in Spanish, and there are 2 of them to raffle today. one Devox UK ticket, as Auri said, and 2 tickets for CommitConf, right? So now we are closing the streaming and the max. Yeah, I think I said. So we are closing the streaming now, and we are going to do the, and these things. Because no one asked before, right? So we have a lot of things to raffle today. So for the streaming people, that's it for you. And now we are closing, and we are going to do the raffle. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the next one.